Welcome to another edition of House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Vic, the producer, and joining me is your compa, my compa, Gilbert Manzano, NFL staff writer for Sports Illustrated, and also you did some cross country, right, Gilbert, when you were in high school. So let me ask you this, Gilbert: what's a harder marathon, 26 and a half, 26.2 miles, or having to cover the Rams for 18 weeks last season?
I don't know if I've ever done 26 miles. I did 15 one time, so and that was really hard. So you know what? I'll go with the running of the miles there. But it was tough to cover the Rams a year ago. But apparently, all it takes for the Rams is for me to leave, and they win a few games, or I guess it's been one game, but a really impressive game. Rams beating the Seahawks, but yeah, it's a marathon. That's why they call it
Yes.
the NFL season. They have an extra game, 17 games. We'll see what happens with the Rams, but we're here to discuss it. Is it a
Yes.
fluke? Not a fluke. As you know, 49ers week.
Yeah, thank you for leading us there, Gilbert. And I just want to say, make sure you're following Gilbert for all your NFL news. G Manzano on X, G Manzano 24 on X. He's got you covered. He just put out a story about he ranking his NFL coaches. So if you want to see where Sean McVay lands, make sure you're following him and checking out his stories on Sports Illustrated. So as you know, Gilbert, we have a lot to cover here as we preview this matchup between the Rams and the 49ers. We have news and notes. There's a couple of injury news to discuss today. We also have player matchups to watch. And of course, we have storylines for both teams, keys to the game. And of course, we'll give our prediction for this game. But before we get started, Gilbert, can you let the our viewers and listeners know what we got going on on the Compas on the Beat network around our channels?
Yeah, definitely. Let's get to some promos. We have a lot going on, a lot of good, exciting content on the Compass on the Beat YouTube channel. If you want the whole landscape of the NFL, check out the videos on the YouTube. Make sure to subscribe. Again, we just want you to subscribe. You don't have to go buy anything or anything like that. Subscribe will go definitely a long way to helping us grow the network, Compass on the Beat network. And I know Fernando made a joke the other day saying it's just four Mexican guys talking football. We got two right here. And on
Yeah.
that channel over there, Compas on the B is 4. So go and support us there. We got videos of all the week 1 matchups. We'll definitely have you covered for week 2 and the previews and all that. So check that out. Definitely, again, I know it's a rival team from LA, but if you have Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert, or Mike Williams in your fantasy football team, check out What's Up Bolts, Fernando Ramirez, Dan and Dago. They got you covered. And yeah, we always like to pick on Dan and Dago on Compas on the Beat. And here, as always, go check out the audio version for House of Horns. We got that too. We love the content and the engagement here on the YouTube channel, but check out the audio. I know it's a lot of traffic. I know you guys people listen to podcasts in LA, so check out the audio of House of Horns, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your podcast. Hopefully that was okay for a promo.
Yeah, and thank you to all the new. We've gotten a bunch of new subscribers. It's been great to see the feedback as well from a lot of the people who are commenting. So shout out to you guys for continuing to support us. We really appreciate it. Gilbert, before we move on to news and notes, you have an engagement question for our viewers and listeners. So go ahead and let them know what question you have for week 2 of the NFL season.
Yeah, I really love engaging and talking with all the listeners and viewers of House of Horns. I see the comments all the time, and make sure to check out the community section on the channel because I like to post every now and then. And I definitely want to get your predictions, your final scores. Check that out. Shout out to the few that responded on that one. Hopefully it grows. Maybe do a couple polls as well. But we got you here for an engagement question of the week, and people are sleeping on a team when after week 1, it's a bunch of players from the same team on the waiver wire that are trending. You got Puka Nakua, Tutu Atwell, Kyron Williams. These 3 players were sought after on the waiver wire. So a fantasy football question for the engagement question of the week. Did you get 1, 2, 3, or 0 of one of these Rams players, Puka, Tutu, and Kyron, because I'm not gonna lie, I made a run at Kyron Williams because I'm set at wide receiver, a little pat for myself, but I needed a running back. I missed out on Kyron Williams. And a quick story: Puka Nakua in our league, Victor,
Yes,
went for
thank
a
you for bringing it up.
whopping $75 for Puka Nakua. That's a lot, but I ain't mad at it, man. 15 targets for what, 10 receptions or 9 receptions for 100 and something yards was really good.
119,
So
yeah.
Puka's a real deal. But let me know in the comments, or if you're in the audio, get to the comments on YouTube and let me know if you got one of these guys on your fantasy football team.
Yeah, everybody was going after Ram players on the wire. I saw Matthew Stafford was also another person who people were picking up this week. So, but let's get to news and notes, Gilbert. You know, I hate, especially with coming off a good week, feeling good. You have the Rams at 1-0. I don't think a lot of people expected them to be here at 1-0, going up against the 1-0 49ers. And of course, the first thing we get is some bad news in terms of the backup quarterback for the Rams. Go ahead and give us your thoughts on the news on Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, so a week ago, Stetson Bennett was ruled out quickly for a shoulder thing. Now it seems like it might be more, but Sean McVay said that it's not related to a shoulder injury. So Stetson Bennett is not, with the team currently. He's still on the roster, but he's on the reserve NFI list there. So when you see that NFI, that tends to be something that off the field related. Maybe it's not injury, or an injury did not occur on the practice field or the facility. So something is going on there with Stetson Bennett. And I don't want to dig deep for things that I don't know anything about. I don't want to even go into Stetson Bennett's past. I'm gonna just wait it out. The reporters who cover the Rams on a daily basis, they tried their best to get more because they're good reporters, to get more from Sean McVay, but Sean McVay was not going to go there. He just kept saying, hey, respect the privacy. And he had a couple, come on, man. I'm not going to share anything else with Stetson Bennett. So that tells you it's something serious. Hopefully he's okay. Stetson Bennett is doing well. Matthew Stafford was asked about it. He didn't want to go into anything as well. He just said, hey, we're just shorter on the quarterback room. We need more guys, but we'll be fine. And we'll see what happens with Stetson Bennett. But that is the note there. And yeah, I get the Rams used a draft pick on Stetson Bennett, but again, I'm not going to speculate. I won't dig deeper than that, but it is a loss for the team.
Yeah, and we won't do that here. Because you get into trouble with speculating, and we're trying to do good by you're an NFL staff writer. You write for Sports Illustrated, and so we want to make sure that we follow protocol here, and also you know we also try to do things ethically here. And so, the main thing is that if he's okay, that's the number one priority. We've seen it around the league, Gilbert, with Chandler Jones. And for some reason, I'm spacing out on the Panthers backup quarter. No, not the Pan. He was with the
Yeah,
Panthers, with
Patriots.
the Patriots. Someone who's actually from the 805.
Yeah,
Um,
Matt Corral.
Matt Corral as well. So we don't know, we don't want, like I said, we don't want to speculate, but Sean McVay was, pretty firm in his responses. I even listened to an interview he did today with Mason and Ireland on ESPN, and he tried not to talk about it. He was trying to be he was trying to protect Stetson Bennett, and rightfully so. Everybody deserves their privacy. I know that they're public athletes, but when it comes to a personal issue, there's a reason why they're being protective, and we're gonna respect that, Gilbert.
Yeah, no, and definitely. We'll see what happens with that, and I'm sure things will come out as the days and the weeks go by. And again, I just stress. Hopefully, he's okay. We don't know what's going on there, so we won't go deeper than that. And all we could really do is just kind of go off of what we see on the football field when it comes to football. He struggled. He had the shoulder injury, but he's still a rookie. I know we make fun of his age being a little older, but technically he's a young player. So hopefully he comes back from whatever he's enduring right now, and hopefully still with the Rams, because again, they use a 4th round draft pick. It was a surprise in the draft. So I know one of the questions Sean McVay fielded was like, okay, so if you don't want to talk about it, how does it kind of set you back, with the draft there? So, they did invest a pick on him to him to be the backup, but he wasn't ready. Let's keep it real on that part. But Brett Rippon is there and available, and hopefully for the Rams, it's not a big issue because Matthew Stafford is healthy and available, and he's been balling out. So hopefully it doesn't get bigger than that.
Yeah, and on a lighter note, moving on, we're gonna talk about Stafford here now, and we got news this morning. I'm just gonna give credit to Jake Ellenbogen of Turf Show Times. He reported it this morning. And as we're saying it, that Stafford will possibly star in season two of the quarterback, Gilbert. Now, my first thought, like as we put it there, and we said possibly because we don't know. He was asked after he was asked by reporters on Wednesday about it. So I want to make sure I put that in there. Now, my first thought, Gilbert, when I first heard the report was, is this why we heard from his wife on the podcast where they trying to set something up? But also on a lighter news, it does, if he does if they do have a season two of the quarterback, it kind of tells you that he's in a great place. And what did you take from this news,
Yeah.
Gilbert? And then just tell us what he told some of the B reporters.
Yeah, it sounded like he is gonna do it. Like that was one of the safest responses I've ever heard, and one of the best. Can't
Yes.
confirm or nor deny responses. That was a really good one. He's like, yeah, yeah, it could possibly happen, but I'm not even sure it's gonna be a season two. I'm not the one calling the shots here. So that was a great answer by Stafford. But if you kind of read between the lines that he's listening, he's interested, and when he said, yeah, possibly, then that sounds like it's gonna happen. And a lot of the other guys who were not even interested would just say, I'm not interested, or hey, they haven't even approached me, or hey, I haven't even talked to anybody. But Stafford has been talking to them, so that sounds like he's gonna be the guy. And I don't know if he's gonna play the Patrick Mahomes role or the Kirk Cousins. We'll see if they get better than Matthew Stafford. But it's a good start. When you sent me the text, say, hey, it could be Stafford. I'm like, oh, I like this because Kelly Stafford likes to be in the news. She's a talker. I'm sure she's good on reality TV, and Stafford's also good. And then seeing the story of him overcoming that spinal cord injury, I'm sure that's going to be a big topic, or maybe that's where they're going to start. And everybody calling him old and being disconnected. So they're setting up the storyline here. And then after week one, that sounds like a good show to me. So with Stafford being on board, possibly, I like that. I would definitely watch it if he is one of the quarterbacks on it. But we'll see if they'll top it or Stafford the Patrick Mahomes of season two.
Yeah, that's what everybody was saying today. Like I was listening to the radio, I was listening to people's on podcasts today, and they were all saying so that Stafford's gonna be the Patrick Mahomes, and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, there's bigger fishes out there to go and get, like Joe Burrow. I thought I had heard Joe Burrow was gonna do it for the longest, and maybe the injury maybe that's probably why he did. Once he got the injury, he probably said no. But it'll be interesting to see where Stafford fits in. I really don't care where he fits in because it's Hollywood. It's the Rams. They're especially as you pointed out, coming off the season that he had, he's and what he called you out, Gilbert, after the game, and he's that'll be something to keep an eye on when season two comes out, possibly if there's a season two. So we'll keep an eye on that. But there's not a lot of we'll move on to injury news unless you have more on this, Gilbert.
No, that's it
Yeah.
for me. I'm down to get to the injury report, which is
Yeah.
looks pretty good for the Rams. That's also keeping in mind that Cooper Cubs on the what's it called? What's it called? The IR. There you go. I'm forgetting which
Yes.
list. NFI IR list, whatever it is.
Yeah, we got to keep up with all these acronyms now. Because I listened to somebody on the radio and they didn't know what the NFI list was. And so we had, especially after with everything that happened after COVID and learning all the new acronyms. Everybody's adjusting as well. So, but it's just a couple of injuries to report, right, Gilbert?
Yeah, Joe Noteboom ankle doesn't. I don't know if it's serious or not. It sounds like a precaution. That's the thing to keep in mind. We are recording this on a Wednesday evening. Whenever the Wednesday injury report comes out, it could be rest or it might not be. It's always kind of you have to wait it out for the rest of the week. But it seems like he's going to be okay. Then you got the cornerback Witherspoon with the hip thing, so we'll see how he does. But luckily for both positions, that is how different. This is how much of a difference a year makes. They have depth on interior offensive line for Nopum in case he's not ready, and they actually have depth at cornerback after the good start from DK and Kobe Durant, because Trey Thompson, people want to see Trey Thompson, so we'll see if he gets an opportunity if these guys can't go. But it feels like it might be precaution for the two, so that's a good sign. But again, you have Cooper Cup on IR, and that's one of the biggest blows you can have for a team.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the good things about this is that they both participated. Joe Noble was a limited participant, and Witherspoon fully participated. So that going into a rivalry game that is 49ers Rams is, you want to be as healthy as you can be, especially with the what you're gonna face with that defense, Gilbert. So moving on, let's just start breaking this game down. Rams and 49ers. Let me give you a quick matchup history. The two teams have faced each other 148 times. The Niners have the upper hand in this rivalry with 77 wins, and the Rams have 68. And there's been three ties along the way. I know we don't like ties around here, Gilbert, but there's been three ties in here. So and they've met twice in the playoffs. Once in 1990 with the 49ers winning that one 30-13, and then recently 2021, the Rams beat the 49ers on their way to Super Bowl 56 at SoFi. So um and as we everybody who knows this rivalry knows every stat right now in terms of Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. Everybody knows that the 49ers have now won 8 straight regular season games, and then that McVay has a 3-9 record against Shanahan. And like McVay won 3 out of the first 4 meetings, but now has lost, as we mentioned, the last 8. So um just is it's the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan have really dominated this rivalry lately. But I wanted to ask you something, Gilbert, because I've been listening and I've been reading a lot this week getting ready for this matchup. And I just, we talked about this during Compas, and Dan and Dago asked you about Mike McDaniel, and he asked you about Brandon Staley, and whether there it was a personal matchup in week 1. So I listened today to McVay and him talk about Shanahan, and my question to you is there too much respect going on in this friendship, and is that a reason why McVay hasn't fared well against Shanahan in the last 4 years?
I don't think so, because I always found the stat funny, because like when I was covering the team last year, they kept saying the streak. I'm like, but they beat them in the NFC title game. Who cares? That was the biggest game of all of them. You could probably play another 10 more games. That's still the biggest game of all, and you could just walk around with the ring. They are supposedly still good friends. So you know, I don't think it's a big deal. And the biggest reason why, there is a lot of respect, but they're also very competitive. Like, these guys are super competitive. And then, we saw what Jordan did in the summer, the play caller series, because these guys have been together for a long time. And like I mentioned on Compas on the Beat, like Mike McDaniel had that story in ESPN where he's saying, you know what, it was a struggle to keep up with these guys, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur in Washington. And, unfortunately, he started drinking because it was just too much stress for him. But he bounced back. And look at Mike McDaniel. He might be even better than Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan as an offensive play caller right now. That's a bold take right there. But check out my story, like you mentioned, that at SI, the coaching rankings. Definitely, those guys are probably all in the top 10 or 12. So it's a very unique situation where 4 guys are together like that. They're all head coaches. They're all together, but they're on a different path. And the best part about it, they're all super competitive. And even with Mike McDaniel, like he's super competitive with Brandon Staley, but he's a different guy. He's super like he likes to have comedy and have fun. And I just saw a video of him doing funny things on the SoFi Stadium camera, saying, "Hey, I'm gonna run the next 5 plays to reveal his play sheet." But obviously, he ran the I mean, he threw the ball all day, so he's a different type of guy. These guys, they're not really the funny guys, the talkers. They're just more serious, but they do have a lot of respect. Sean McVay is kind of more of the historian guy. He respects history and what you've done. And Kyle Shanahan's more like the grumpy guy, right? So, I don't think it's too much respect there. I think that competitive fire is very it's there, and I'm sure that Sean McVay, he knows that probably last year he's gonna think about last year, like the 49ers dominated the Rams, so I think he wants to remember last year and then come off and hopefully get a win there. So, but that's a good starting point for this matchup because these coaches are two of the best in the league.
Yeah, and there's a lot of ties with these two coaching staffs, as we've seen, you know this better than anybody, but just going back, like listening to him, and every time he gets asked about the 49ers, he always brings up his grandfather, and he always, makes sure that he talks about him when they asked him about, hey, what are you gonna how are you preparing for the 49er fans to invade SoFi? He always talks about, hey, I always talk to my grandfather, and he was responsible for the fan base, in Los Angeles. He was part of that, and so he always finds a way to bring and honor his grandfather, and so that there's always that the ties between the Rams and the 49ers. And I know that Ram fans, don't have a lot of love for the 49ers, and rightfully so, but it's I I guess my question, and kind of setting up as we get into the storylines here, Gilbert, is how do you see this rivalry? Is there such a thing as a rivalry anymore in today's NFL?
Yeah, I think there's a good amount, especially the divisions, and I know the Rams were pretty bad last year, but now that they went 1-0, it feels like okay, the rivalry might be back. Like the Rams might have a chance, and I'm sure we felt it last year before the Monday Night Football game in Santa Clara. Though the game where Bobby Wagner got I guess he didn't get he tackled the fan. That's what it was. He was
Right.
supposed to get kind of tackled or
A
not, and then
protester, yes.
the protester. So and then that's when that was the first game where I realized, okay, these Rams are pretty bad. So, but going into that game, I felt the rivalry. The second game, I did not because we knew who was a dominant team, and right now, if we decided on the Compas going to beat Power Poll for top five, 49ers are the number one team, and a lot
Number
of people
one.
feel the same way. They're going to be a very dominant team. But the second that the Rams got that up to win in Seattle, I was like, oh, it's going to be a good game. I'm excited. I'm excited to be at SoFi on Sunday for that game. I had to double check to make sure my credential was approved because I want to be there. So that tells you what kind of rivalry that is.
Yeah, and something else to kind of look forward to with this game is the fact that we have, you have a 1-0 Rams team, and you have a 49ers team that's 1-0, and you have fan bases that don't really, don't like each other. And so this is gonna, and the thing I wanted to kind of go over, Gilbert, with you, going into storylines, is the fact that I'm like losing my train of thought here in terms of where I wanted to go. But let's go ahead and start with the 49ers and what their storylines are going into this matchup.
Yeah, that was a very impressive, dominant victory in Pittsburgh. I was wrong. I've been wrong a lot. The last week, I picked the Steelers to beat the 49ers, and I picked the
Same.
Seahawks to beat the Rams. But in my picks, I went 10-6, and that's not too bad. So I'm proud of that. But those two games I got wrong for sure, and it was very impressive. I thought maybe the 49ers will struggle against a very good defense. The Steelers. I thought maybe Nick Bosa needed a game or two to be ready. I don't know why I doubted Nick Bosa, but I did not see a 30-7 beatdown from a team that's coached by Mike Tomlin at home. So that tells you this team is very, I think they're lock and loaded to win the Super Bowl. And it is overreactions after 1 week, but I think a lot of people were pretty easy to say, hey, it's the 49ers were the best team right now. Maybe the Cowboys because they went 40-0 in their win that people were saying maybe the Cowboys, but we've seen the 49ers get so far that maybe this might be their year. But let me start for singling out players, let me start with Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy is better than Jimmy G, and that could be a scary thing for the rest of the league because when they had Jimmy G just doing his thing, being a game manager, this team got as far as the Super Bowl one year. They've been to NFC title games, I think, the last 2 years or 3 years. I forget how many years in a row they've been there. So, or 3 out of the last 4 years. So when they have Jimmy G, and that was good enough. I think Brock Purdy is I'm not gonna say a much better quarterback, but he is a better quarterback. Or a quarterback who could be maybe above top 15 or around that range. So, you know, I saw Brock Purdy in person in Santa Clara for training camp, and it's just one visit, but I just really was impressed how much of a command he had in the offense, how much respect he had from people, coaches, players, how quick he is out there, decisive, could throw the ball in tight windows, and everybody just respects the guy, and he wants to get better and work harder. And I remember people were saying he has to work on his footwork. And Kyle Shanahan said that in an interview. He has to get better in his footwork. And I've been watching the guy's footwork after that. I'm like, okay, he knows how to move around, get away from the pocket, and then throw the ball to guys like Brandon Ayuk. If Brandon Ayuk is going to take that next level and be on the same level as Deebo Samuel, like that's going to be a problem. I'm not trying to scare Rams fans, and I'm sure they're not afraid anyways. It's a rivalry, but there's a reason why his team is number one. And then you have Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Ufanga. So I could keep going on and on. I hadn't even mentioned Christian McCaffrey. So it's going to be a very daunting challenge. But with Brock Purdy at the command, controlling the keys, this might be the best team that Kyle Shanahan has had since he got there.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why I picked the Steelers was because Kyle Shanahan, teams tend to start off slow, and so that was part of my, thing with trends. Like I said, I always look at trends, and with Kyle Shanahan is always he starts off slow. By the way, what I wanted to talk about originally was the fact that how how do we feel about the Rams starting off with two straight divisional games? Because as we saw last season, the divisional games were left towards the end of the season, and now we get them, and it kind of, especially when you win the first game, it kind of builds that it gets the juices flowing. Gets you, like, as you talked about, you're ready to go and cover this game, and so I just wanted to make sure that I brought that back. But in terms of Brock Purdy, just kind of listening to and doing some research, it sounds like some 49er fans are sold on Brock Purdy, which is weird. Like, I don't understand. I've had this conversation for years now, and for some reason, people fans don't like the term game manager. Everybody's looking for the Josh Allen. They're looking for the Patrick Mahomes. They want that quarterback that can just do the wow throws. And I sometimes you just need a Brock Purdy to be able to manage the game, especially when you have a defense like the one you have with the 49ers. And I just don't understand. Look, I don't know, we we don't know how at least from my end, I don't know how this 49er season's gonna go the rest of the season, but you're set everywhere. There's not a lot of weaknesses, and having someone like Brock Purdy is gonna take you a long way. And that was, I don't know what you have to say about that,
Yeah,
Gilbert.
yeah. No, that's a good point because you know who Brock Purdy kind of reminds me of, or the situation. I know he's a second year guy, but he's still a seventh round rookie. So who only got 5 regular season games and the 2 playoff games a year ago. So he's still very young, but he kind of feels like the Russell Wilson rookie year. Very dominant
Yeah.
defense. Just do your part. Nothing sexy. Nothing like a dynamic. Just throw the ball to the playmakers, and let's see how it goes. And I feel because it is year 2, I think Brock Purdy is better than that young Russell Wilson. So that's also a scary sign for the 49ers because, like I said, he plays quick out there. He knows how to read a defense. He's poised. And then he's getting guys like Brandon Ayuk involved. And maybe he has to figure out more how to get Debo. Maybe that's the next thing for him. But, you know, game manager shouldn't be an insult. You're right in saying that. But I think he might be a little better than that. I'm not saying he's an elite superstar or for sure top 10 quarterback. There's a lot of good quarterback in this league. But he's somewhere in that range, right? Game manager or above average quarterback. But if he's getting like 280 yards per game, no interceptions will be perfect. Maybe 2 touchdowns. You still got McCaffrey in the running game, so those aren't like the biggest numbers. That's why Brock Purdy was in. I bet you could check the waiver wire in every fantasy football league, and Brock Purdy's available. But if you're in a pinch and you need a guy to be reliable, Brock Purdy's your guy.
No, and you're right. I mean, yeah, you know what you're getting, and I mean, even Micah Parsons has given him credit. He said he's a top 15 quarterback in this league. And I mean, if you go down the quarterback list, I don't think there's a lot of people who, maybe they'll argue with you just on the point that he doesn't have a lot of experience. He's only done it for a few games. But when you have a dominant defense like that, you don't need a lot. And I mean, he's better than he's an above average quarterback. And that's what you need sometimes. And, I just don't understand why people get upset in terms of the game manager, and yeah, the Rams are in a good spot because they don't have a game manager. They actually have someone who can command an offense in Matthew Stafford. And if it's okay, I'll move on to the
Yeah.
storylines for the Rams. And just going over the the game against the Seahawks, is can they take some of that momentum from the second half where they shut down the Seahawks offense and limited them to 12 yards. I think nine of those yards, Gilbert, came on running plays. The rest, they only allowed 3 yards passing. Can you build off that momentum, and can you prove people wrong that maybe it wasn't a fluke the first game, and built off of that? And I just want to see how. I think for me, the biggest storyline going into this game is, can they repeat what they showed against the Seahawks?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, that might be the biggest thing actually, Victor. Now I think about it is like, if that defense is able to slow it down a bit with Brock Purdy and the offense, like then you could play this ball control kind of style, and it doesn't even feel like this boring control the clock offense because Matthew Stafford, like you mentioned, is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So if he wants to, the only issue, like imagine if Cooper Kupp was available, like maybe that's when they actually start lining up the scoreboard. Maybe they could be that type of offense when he comes back. But for right now, they're kind of like, all right, let's be this old school kind of grind it out and take it to you. And then by the third quarter or the fourth quarter, we're gonna wear you out. So, you know, the thing that I'm so intrigued about this game is like, were the Seahawks just caught off guard? Were they thinking like, okay, we're gonna cruise with like, how many rookies and second year guys and undrafted guys you guys have on that roster? Yeah, we'll be fine. And then you see Aaron Donald is not alone on the defense, and they're seeing all these coverages from Raheem Morris. So they won't have that kind of that surprise factor for this game here, but they are at home. That is big. But yeah, I just don't know if this style will work against the 49ers because you could fall behind in a hole really quickly. But again, a shout out for Sean McVay for being patient with the game plan and running the football. And he saw something, he kept going to it. And I think he kept getting asked about the gap runs today. So it is a unique little tweak that he's doing. So we'll see if we continue it. But when you're trying to run a system like that, who knows it better than Kyle Shanahan, right? When it comes to the running style.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how they tweak things up. And I know, like I said, these teams know each other, too well. Like, and that's part of the thing. It's going to be the how this the chess match is played between these two head coaches. And right now Shanahan has had the upper hand on McVay. And then you talked about being at home. My other concern in terms of storylines for this game is, are the Rams going to have to go to a silent count at home? Because we know that the 49ers since the Rams moved into SoFi, have taken over that stadium. And so that's going to be another storyline, Gilbert.
Yeah, I always say this. I never knock people for making money. If you have an advantage, if you have an investment in buying season tickets for the Rams, and you could like triple it, quadruple it, I say go ahead and do it. It sucks for the home team, the Rams, and the faithful fans there, but you got to make your money. I don't blame it. And those 49er fans in the Bay Area, man, they pay for a lot high rent and everything's so expensive. So if they're coming down here, take their money. So take it as a win there. But it is gonna suck for the players being on a silent count, things like that. But again, like this storyline's kind of old, and they're used to it by now. The players, what else can you do? Especially when they know 49 fans going to come in, they're going to invade. People in LA need their money, so they're gonna cash in. But I feel for the hardcore diehard Rams fans that will never do that. But sometimes okay, it's just it's the way the game is nowadays, and as I always say when people ask me how's football in LA, are they terrible fans? No, there was just no home team for 3 decades. So people love football and they gravitated to other teams. And those 49ers were pretty good during the Harbaugh day. That's when I really felt like people from LA started going to the 49ers because they were pretty bad before that. And they just
Yeah.
pop out of nowhere and then they started winning a lot with Kyle Shanahan and here we are.
Yeah, and I mean, I've lived here forever. You know, when the both the Raiders and the Rams left, it honestly became a big 49ers town. And I would always ask, like, what was it about the 40? Is because in the mid 90s, they were dominant. They had dominant teams, and so a lot of those. That generation, they had kids and their kids became fans of the 49ers, and that's been the result of it. And that's, as you mentioned, not having football in LA for 2 decades, that really it allowed other fan bases to be able to grow here in LA. And so, but the Rams have slowly, and surely have gathered more and more fans, as we've seen, and it'll be interesting. That's one thing I'll keep an eye on, Gilbert, is whether fans, especially after going 1-0, if they decide not to sell their tickets. But it's hard to say no to money, as you said, especially in this economy. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. But let's move on to our player matchups. I'll let you go ahead and start. What do you have for player matchups?
Yeah, I think I'm going more position based here, but it's an easy one. I gotta see his offensive line be tested. Like I know the Seahawks defensive line has some guys, but it's not Nick Bosa, it's not Hargrave, it's not a Armstead. So and even you want to go with the linebackers, man, Greenlaw, who I think maybe not practice today, I forget. But then you have Fred Warner too as well. So I can even say that defensive front, not just defensive line, against his Rams offensive line. And you know, I get asked a lot of SI to write, winners and losers, keynotes from the week of the NFL week, and I kept giving a lot of credit to the Rams for not just expecting guys to get healthy. Like they could have easily been like, well, we were decimated by injuries. They just get everybody healthy and we'll be fine. No, they were tinkering with positions. Okay, Joe Nopum, we paid you to be left tackle, but it's not working out. You lost a job, but you're good. We're gonna put you inside as a guard. They tried it out. It seemed to work out for at least 1 week. Uh, Same thing with center. I heard Coleman Shelton's name appear or come up today for the press conferences, and like shout out to Coleman Shelton, the center. He is now the full-time center. Remember Brian Allen? He was a guy. He's still on the roster, so that was a tough decision for the franchise to make. So Coleman Shelton had a great game. They invested a pick, their first pick of the 2023 draft, Steve Avila, as a rookie, and they started the guy, on the left side. Like you have a rookie on left guard, and you have an undrafted free agent from 2021, Alaric Jackson, on your left side. That's pretty bold to kind of have that
Yeah.
experience on your left side. Sometimes you kind of move the rookie to the veteran like Rob Havenstein, and you kind of do it that way. They didn't play it safe. They went and they trusted their gut. Okay, we're seeing these guys, and they're the best five at this combination at these positions. So credit to the Rams for doing their homework and not settling. I really like that, but it does not get harder than San Francisco week.
Yeah.
Nick Bosa's a monster, and it's funny how some people, yeah, I saw this video. It's gonna be a random story. I saw a video from a Steelers fan on TikTok shouting out their rookie. Is it Broderick Jones? From the
Right.
Steelers, who pushed
Yes.
down Nick Bosa. It was one freaking play. I don't care. Sometimes you lose, but you gotta maybe get a few 2 or 3 plays where you stop Nick Bosa because it's just like an avalanche coming in. And what else can you do? So, shout out to Steelers fans who try to make Nick Bosa look good against a rookie. I mean, look bad against a rookie. But that doesn't happen very often. But we'll see. Maybe Steve Avila has a moment. I know he's not an outside guy, or maybe Alaric Jackson does okay. Maybe Rob Havenstein. We'll see. But you're gonna give up a few sacks. You're gonna give up a few quarterback hits. But you cannot. I remember right now that game in Monday Night Football in Santa Clara. I want to say Stafford took at least 10 to 12 hits. So you can't allow that again. Try to keep them clean as much as possible. But I just want to see the offensive line be tested, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think, I know the running game didn't have a big showing last week against Seattle, especially against a team who wasn't known for having, a good run defense. Maybe they fixed things up, but I mean, we saw Cam Akers only run for what, 29 yards on like 20 carries. The bright spot was Kyron Williams. So you're gonna have to run the ball. They're gonna have to stick to the running game to protect Stafford. And that's a great call by you in terms of the offensive line. For me, I'm gonna talk about the two guys that stood out in that Seahawks game, and that's Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell versus the 49ers secondary. We know what the 49ers can, they seem to bring in dudes, in free agency, and they can plug them in along that defensive line, and those guys end up getting 3-4 sacks a game, with Nick Bosa on what side. They just have guys every single year, it seems like. And so, where you could take advantage of this team, if you can even try in terms of their defense, is the secondary. If hopefully, if you're as the point you made with the offensive line, if the offensive line can hold up, then you can get the ball to Puka Nakua and Tutu Atwell, and we can find out whether what we saw last week was just a mirage, because we you know you need to attack the 49ers secondary if you're going to be successful against that defense, Gilbert. And that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like you mentioned, even that running game, it didn't pop out, but they kept taking or making the calls to run the play, and even just having that type of off balance on the defense could go a long way. And it just even like subtle motions or things like that, just to kind of keep the defense guessing. So if you could do that, because like let's be real, like they're not gonna be able to protect Stafford the whole game. Like if they come out of this game not allowing a single sack for 2 weeks in a row against Nick Bosa, I'm gonna be shocked. But I was shocked last week, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, you got to have some kind of balance. But if you fall behind early, then that's when, on the flip side, then keeping a balance, it's hard to do, and that's when the guys get going. Like Nick Bosa, okay, you're down, you got to pass now. We're gonna be coming at you, so maybe get out to an early lead, and maybe if they win that coin flip could be critical. They jumped out to a 7-0 lead and they score early, and that kind of sets the tone. But yeah, you're right. You got to keep a balance, because if you don't, then guys like Puka and Tutu Atwell won't be able to get open. So you got to have some kind of quick game. And the beauty, and he's a rookie, but he's good. Puka Nakua, he knows how to get open quickly. And the thing with Tutu, that's taking him a while. You got to have some motions and let him have a running start, things like that. But when you have a guy like Tutu, like it would have been perfect if Puka and Cooper were together, because they get open quickly, maybe a couple jet sweeps, some screens, things like that. But you got to find a way to keep them involved. And before we move on, Van Jefferson, and I think one of the last questions that Stafford got today was, hey, you looked a little mad when he dropped the ball. I think it was like 40 yards, and he's like, yeah, I was frustrated, but I went back to Van Jefferson and I told him I'm gonna come back to you. And the Rams, scored on that drive, and I know Van Jefferson had a quiet game, but if he's able to step up and make it 3 productive wide receivers, then you're looking like you're in a good spot, because not having Cooper Kupp is going to be a difficult task against the 49ers, but they need Van, and he's supposed to be the number 1 on this roster right now, but we'll see what he does.
Yeah, and Van Jefferson, I think on that drop, he just he just looked weird, like he positioned his hands weirdly, and he dropped the ball. I think if he put his hands up the right way, then he would have caught the ball. But that happens, man, when you're running a route. That sometimes your hands go, they get misplaced sometimes, and it happens, but unfortunately, and then I wanted to go back to Stafford. Um, One of the things I saw was how efficient he was on third down. You can rely on that against the 49ers. I mean, I think he had like the highest EPA on third down. Like, I mean, it was even above what you usually see from Patrick Mahomes. So, I mean, it just tells you you're gonna need, if you're gonna win this game, you're gonna need Matthew Stafford to continue to be solid on third down, because you're gonna need to have you be in long drives against this 49ers defense. But moving on to our keys to the games, where are you looking at here, Gilbert?
Yeah, I just want to see again these young guys, man. Like I threw in Witherspoon here, but the DBs, or I guess the cornerbacks to be exact, Darion Kendrick, Kobe Durant. I know Witherspoon is older and he played for the 49ers for a few years. I think he started his career with the 49ers, so kind of a maybe a revenge game there. I don't know if you call it that. and then Trey Tomlinson. So I'm hoping to see more Trey Tomlinson, but you don't know. But then when you have guys like Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, so that is kind of my key is like, can these young guys contain the greatest set of skill players in this league? With McCaffrey also be the one of the best running back wide receivers of all time, and Christian McCaffrey. So I gave Ayuk a shout out earlier, but like I'm starting to maybe consider, like, is Ayuk better than Devo? Like when you come to a traditional wide receiver sense, like Ayuk reminds me of a little bit of T. Higgins. I brought this up on Compas, but I think Ayuk is a better route runner. So
He is,
it, say Kobe Durant or Darion Kendrick has the assignment, like you better stay on this guy. You're gonna get lost on those routes. And then he's a big physical wide receiver too as well. And then at the same time, where's Deebo Samuel? And that's the biggest mystery. Is like Deebo's not the traditional wide receiver, but he's always lurking. It's kind of like Tyreek Hill. Like he's ready for a big time play. And going back to that Monday Night Football game from a year ago, Deebo broke free for a long, I want to say a touchdown or maybe a long game, I forget. So you have all these kind of think guys to worry about, and we'll see about George Kittle. I forget, did he play last week? I know he's been dealing with an injury, but I didn't see him on the injury report today. So he will be available too, it looks like. So these young guys, man, keep doing what you did last week. Like just be feisty, be competitive, and don't get overwhelmed. And maybe being at home might help them out too as well. And this is probably your note, Victor. But remember what Darion Kendrick called Puka? If you want to say it,
yeah, Puka Doncic. Yeah.
that's a good
So I mean,
nickname.
yeah, this came from JB, the play-by-play for the Rams, and I thought it was pretty funny. And that's a pretty cool nickname. That it tells you how highly they think of Puka already. I mean, he's
Puka
only had
Doncic.
one game.
I like
Yeah.
it.
And then for me, so just kind of doing research, I was trying to figure out where you can attack the 49ers. And I talked about where you can do it on defense. There's not a lot of holes with this team, Gilbert, as you pointed out. One place is, we know what they have on the left side of that offensive line for the 49ers. You have Trent Williams and you have Banks on the left side, right? And so where you can attack this team on offense is on the right side, because they're trying to replace Mike McClinchy. Is that his name, from
Yeah,
that signed in free agency and went to the Broncos? And McKivitz, who replaced him, struggled, and of course, going up against someone like Watt, it's is not is not a great matchup when you're trying to replace somebody. And now I'm pretty sure they're going to put Aaron Donald on that side, because they rather take their chances and have Byron Young go be. They're going to tell Byron Young, you go and you give us that speed on that left side against Trent Williams, and we're going to put Aaron Donald on the other side and try to exploit this right side with Buford and McGivitz. And I think that's where you kind of, if you're going to win this game, you're going to have to attack the 49ers secondary and exploit the right side of the offensive line for the 49ers. And those are the only two holes I could find on this team, Gilbert. And that tells you I needed to dig hard in order to find something to, find a flaw in this team, because they're pretty stacked and loaded on both sides of the ball. And so if you have any chance of beating this team, that's where you can attack this team.
yeah, no, that's a good point, and an interesting point, because I know the Rams don't like to always put Aaron Donald on the edge, because he's such a great guy to create a push inside, and then getting double team, triple team just frees up a lot of people, so they don't like to do it often. But I remember last year against the Cowboys, they had the rookie Tyler Smith at left tackle, and they had Aaron Donald playing on that side to kind of beat up the rookie, and he got a couple of sacks that way. So maybe they want to say, you know what, there's not weaknesses on this roster. That's the only one we see. AD, can you go do your thing? Maybe beat up this guy for a little bit, discourage him a little bit, and then go back inside. We'll see. They do it sometimes. They don't always do it, but if it happens, then good call by you, because that is a pretty smart call to do when you need to have some kind of weakness. And again, maybe the 49ers get the ball first. You want to set the tone, have AD mess around and disrupt the right tackle.
Yeah, and I mean any you can even put him on the right side, like just move him around. Either move him, put him right above the right guard, and then sometimes put him up against the right tackle. But we'll see. I mean, I do remember seeing him standing up a couple of times last season, and maybe they do that in this game. But yeah, it'll be interesting how Raheem Morris, what he does for an encore, especially after a masterful job he did, against that high point Seattle offense. But let's get to our betting spotlight now, Gilbert. Um, Now, I had it as a the Rams were 7 point underdogs. Did the line change? Is it 5.5 now?
I have not looked recently, but actually, you know what? Let me check real quick here.
Yeah, I
Thought I
think
had
it was
something.
I think it was 7. I might have not
Mm,
changed it as far as I know, and I think the over under was 42. So that's on me. I did not change it.
I don't have the line, but I do have the over under. It's 44 and a half.
44 and a half. Yeah, so it
But
was 7 as I
it
have it
was,
here.
let's see,
Yeah.
Rams
It,
versus 49ers spread real quick. Oh, yeah, 7 points. Yeah.
yeah, 7 point underdogs, and then what was the over under?
My bad. I had it here.
The 43.
44 and a half.
44.5. All right. So give me what you're thinking here. How are you? What's the right side of this bet here?
Uh, yeah, for 44 and a half, what is that? You got to be maybe in the 20s a little bit. It's tough because, like, I really respect the 49ers offense. And, I don't know if I believe the defense from what I saw a week ago, but they really shut down a good Seahawks offense. So,
Before you make your decision, let me give you some stats so far in 2023 for both teams. The Rams on the money line and the 49ers are both 1-0, and they're both 1-0 against the spread, but they're both 0-1 uh, in the over under. So I don't know if that makes it easier for you to kind of where you're leaning towards.
yeah, you're definitely a trend guy. More like, let me examine this one game here.
Yeah.
Uh, but I was asked to do my 5 best total, yeah, over under bets, and I stayed away from this game because I just don't know where it's gonna go. But I think because they're rivals, and you know what, I'm gonna give credit to this 49ers. I'm sorry, the Rams defense to maybe do something here and maybe contain them a little bit, and we'll see. But also, I'm not giving the Rams offense a lot of credit against the 49ers defense either. So I'm gonna take the under, and let's see how that plays out.
Okay. I'll say that I think the Rams will cover here. I think somehow, some way they'll keep it, under that 7 points. And then I'm going under, especially like you talked about that, in rivalry games. You had a great call last week with the under for the Seahawks. It's going to be the same thing. I just think that with these two teams, it's going to be a low scoring game and it's going to be a tight game. So I just think that the Rams will somehow cover and keep it under the 7 points. So that takes us to our game prediction, Gilbert. Do you want to start or you want me to go first?
I could start it here.
Yeah.
And you know what? I didn't say this, but I do like the 7 points. I like taking the points there and being at home. I really liked what I saw from the the Rams a week ago, and a big surprise upset win in Seattle. I think they're gonna be competitive. They're gonna like that. That's what I needed to see. Like, okay, they won't be this. I know some people were trying to say, hey, they might tank, and I'm like, nah, with Sean McVay they won't. But I don't think he has the talent, so that's why I didn't put him in the playoffs. But I did give him 7 wins, so I think they're gonna be a competitive team. And I was confirmed that at least that a week ago. But I was proven wrong when it comes to the final score. So I'm gonna go again with the other side. I'm gonna take the 49ers, but I'm gonna say they're gonna show a lot of grit again. It's gonna be probably the key word. I know the Lions like they have the word grit there, but I think the Rams will play them tough, 23-20. So I still get the under there. I still get the points from the Rams, but the 49ers will take it 23-20 at SoFi Stadium.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm also going with you on with the 49ers. I think the Rams will keep it close. I think it'll be a very competitive game, and I'm going with 20-17 for the 49ers. It's a close game, and uh, what's his name? Jake Moody wins it late
The rookie,
for.
yeah.
Yes. By the way, did you know that he had a rugby background?
I did not know.
Yeah, I found out today
Hmm.
doing some research. He has a background in rugby, so and he almost tackled somebody. I think there was a bad snap against the Steelers, and was ready to lay somebody out. So if you see Jake Moody out there, don't try to cross him. He's got a rugby background, but yeah. So there you go. We're both agreeing, and we're gonna go with the 49ers. It's hard not to with what we've seen so far, but if you would have asked us, Gilbert, 2-3 weeks ago, maybe a lot of people would have said, oh, this is going to be an easy win for the 49ers. Things have changed now after week one, so I feel like we're giving the Rams their credit, but I don't think they're there yet, and so we need to see a little bit more. um I did see some weaknesses from the Seahawks, so which made me pick them, but after seeing the 49ers destroy the Steelers, there's not there's no way I can pick the Rams here. So I don't give me your final thoughts on this
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, like if they play tough and they hang around and they lose, even by a touchdown, 7 points. Like I think that goes a long way. And I think I mentioned in Monday's show, the follow up episode to the week one. I say, hey, they got to win at least, another game between the 49ers, Eagles, and Bengals, because that's three of the next five games. They also have the Colts and the Cardinals. You got to win those games,
Yes,
Cardinals and the Colts. But you don't have to be perfect with those three teams. You're in a good start after Seattle, but find a way to win one.
one more.
And
Yeah.
I won't pick the 49ers game because they're just the best team in the NFL right now. You get the Bengals on the road. We'll see. That could be pretty tough. But they look a little rusty too. And then you get the Eagles at home. Maybe that's the one they kind of steal. We'll see. But it's very challenging. But find the way. And who knows? Maybe they do it this week and they prove us wrong. But let us know in the comments actually your prediction here, and then I'll do a community post later on in the week. But let us know if you agree or disagree. But just win one from those three games, and I think they're in a good spot.
Yeah, I think your best option is going and beating the Bengals because they start off slow every year under Burrow. But we'll get to that when we get to that game. But I just want to say, make sure you're following Gilbert Manzano. Go to X, Twitter. At G Manzano 24. Make sure you're reading his work. What are you working on, Gilbert? That people should be on the lookout for.
Yeah, I already plugged my coaching story, but just keep tabs on SI or my X account. I don't tweet as much nowadays, but I do always retweet my stories. I do more of the analysis talking on Compas on the Beat YouTube channel. I do it here and also on my TikTok at gmonsound24 and sometimes my Instagram, but X not as much nowadays. But just keep tabs on me because Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I really crank out stories from what happened in week two. And then, Wednesday, Thursdays could be some previews from the week coming up. So it's kind of, today's Wednesday. It feels like it's my Thursday, and then Thursday will be my Friday. Then I get a couple of days to chill. But no big projects right now, but it's all, what I'm seeing from each game and giving you analysis quickly after each game of the week. I'll have a column after Thursday Night Football. So my job is to keep an eye on all the primetime games because I am the West Coast guys. The people at SI, they allow them work on the East Coast. So, hey, you West Coast guy, you stay up late for primetime. So I do stories on Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, and Sunday Night Football. So check that out as well.
And Gilbert will be at the 49er Rams
Absolutely,
game.
yeah.
I'm hoping he can jump on live, but I'm not gonna hold him to that. But we have a lot of content for you guys. So with that, Gilbert, go ahead and close us out.
Yeah, and definitely if I can't make it, stick with Victor for the live post game show. That was some great stuff a week ago. And ask the questions. Don't be shy. And Victor will get to them and answer them. And we'll see. Maybe I will make an appearance. I don't know. Like, you keep me busy, but we'll figure it out then. But on that note, ya nos vamos. Pues vámonos.